You're getting married in February. And before the dress, before the ring, before the vows, there are 3 people you must leave behind if you want peace. If you are new here, subscribe right now, like this video, and comment "I choose peace," because what I'm about to say will save your marriage before it even begins. Stay until the end, because the third person is the most dangerous, and almost everyone misses it. This message is not popular, but it is necessary. Marriage is not just a ceremony. Marriage is a spiritual doorway. When you walk into it, you don't go alone. You carry voices, wounds, habits, and invisible agreements with you. And some people cannot cross that doorway with you. I want you to hear this slowly. Love does not mean access. History does not mean permission. Blood does not mean alignment. You are stepping into a covenant, not convenience, and covenant requires separation. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and the 2 shall become one flesh. That word "leave" is not poetic, it is a command. The first person you must leave behind is the one who competes with your partner. Not openly, not loudly, but quietly. This is the person who smiles but resents your happiness, the one who listens but secretly compares, the one who says, "I'm happy for you," but their energy feels heavy. They might be friends, they might be siblings, they might even be someone you once leaned on emotionally. This person does not want your marriage to fail. They just don't want it to succeed without them being central. They need to be needed. They need to be consulted. They need to feel chosen. But marriage demands that your partner becomes your primary emotional home. Not your friend, not your sister, not your mother. More about your fears than your spouse, that is a problem. If someone else gets your late-night calls instead of your partner, that is a problem. If someone else's opinion carries more weight than your spouse's, that is a problem. This person may accuse you of changing. They will say, "You're not the same anymore." And they're right. You are not supposed to be. Marriage requires a new identity, and anyone who competes with that identity must be released. Not with drama, not with anger, but with clarity. Distance is not punishment, it is protection. The second person you must leave behind is the one who lives in your past. This one is dangerous because they feel familiar. They know your old self. They remember who you were before healing. They remind you of mistakes you've already outgrown. This can be an ex, this can be an old friend, this can be someone you bonded with during a broken season. They don't see who you are becoming. They only see who you used to be. And every time you talk to them, you shrink back into an old version of yourself. They bring up memories that pull you backward. They normalize behaviors you had to pray your way out of. They laugh at things you are now trying to unlearn. You cannot build a future while entertaining a past that God already closed. This person will say, "We're just friends." But friendship is not neutral when history is unresolved. If you have to hide conversations from your partner, that is your answer. If you feel guilty but continue anyway, that is your answer. If you tell yourself it's harmless, but your spirit feels uneasy, that is your answer. Peace is the signal. Confusion is the warning. Marriage requires emotional loyalty, not just physical faithfulness. You cannot give your spouse leftovers and call it love. Person does not mean they were bad. It means the season expired. Some people are bridges, not destinations. The third person you must leave behind is the hardest one to accept. It is you. Not all of you, but the version of you that survived by self-protection. The version that avoids conflict instead of resolving it. The version that shuts down instead of speaking truth. The version that keeps score. The version that expects abandonment. Marriage will expose patterns you thought were healed. It will press on wounds you thought were closed. If you don't leave this version of yourself behind, you will bring single survival habits into a shared life. You will interpret silence as rejection. You will interpret correction as attack. You will interpret disagreement as danger. Your partner is not your enemy, but unhealed parts of you will try to convince you they are, waiting to be hurt. You cannot enter marriage expecting to be disappointed. You cannot enter marriage armored up. Armor protects you in battle. Marriage is not a battlefield, it is a garden, and gardens require vulnerability. This version of you learned to survive alone, but marriage requires learning how to be seen. You must leave behind the belief that love always costs pain. You must leave behind the need to control outcomes. You must leave behind the fear that says, if I relax, I'll lose everything. That fear is not wisdom, it is memory, and memory is not prophecy. God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be present. If you don't confront this version of yourself, you will project it onto your spouse. You will expect them to fix what they didn't break. You will ask them to pay for debts they never owed. Marriage is not about finding the right person, becoming the safe place you are praying for. As February approaches, understand this. Not everyone can attend your next season. Not everyone can have front row access to your marriage. Privacy is sacred. Boundaries are holy. Love grows best when protected. You don't owe everyone explanations. You don't owe everyone updates. You don't owe everyone access. Your marriage is not a group project. If someone makes you doubt your partner, limit access. If someone feeds fear instead of faith, limit access. If someone disrespects your union, remove access. Silence can be wisdom. Distance can be love. God will not bless what you refuse to protect. Marriage multiplies what you bring into it. Peace multiplies peace. Chaos multiplies chaos. Choose carefully. This is not about isolation. It is about alignment. The right people will understand. The wrong people will be offended. Let them. You are not abandoning anyone. You are obeying the call to build something sacred. February is not just a date. It is a threshold. Walk into it lighter. Walk into it clearer. Walk into it free. If this message spoke to you, subscribe now. Like this video so it reaches who needs it. Comment, I am ready, if you are choosing peace over familiarity. And remember this, the future you are praying for requires a goodbye you've been postponing. Before you say I do, ask yourself this one question. Who has access to my spirit right now? Because marriage does not start at the altar. It starts with alignment. Some people clap when you get engaged, but secretly hope you stay the same. They don't want your growth. They want your availability. And if you don't decide now, marriage will force the decision later, usually through conflict, confusion, or pain. Let me say this clearly. Anything that drains your peace before marriage will poison your intimacy after marriage. That constant advice that makes you doubt your partner. That innocent venting that slowly turns into disrespect. That voice that always highlights what's missing instead of what's growing. Those are warnings. If you're listening and this is hitting home, pause and comment right now. I'm choosing alignment, because clarity responds to courage. Marriage is a mirror. It reflects what you refuse to face. If you bring people who thrive on drama, they will magnify drama. If you bring people who honor covenant, they will protect it. And yes, this means some people will feel uncomfortable when you stop explaining yourself. Let them. Your marriage does not need approval. It needs protection. There are people who only know how to relate to you through pain. When you heal, they feel disconnected. That doesn't make them evil. It makes them incompatible with your future. If you feel guilt about setting boundaries, remember this. Guilt is often the price of growth. Jesus said, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." Not everyone deserves access to what is sacred. Marriage is sacred. If someone jokes about cheating, remove access. If someone mocks commitment, remove access. If someone constantly predicts failure, remove access. Faith and fear cannot sit at the same table. And let's talk about expectations. Marriage is not where loneliness goes to die if you refuse to be emotionally present. It is not where trauma magically disappears. It is not where wounds heal without intention. That's why leaving behind the old you matters. The version of you that tested people instead of trusting them. The version of you that stayed silent and built resentment. The version of you that equated chaos with passion. That version cannot lead to a healthy marriage. If this is you, comment, "I'm doing the inner work." Because awareness is the doorway to change. You don't need to be afraid of marriage. You need to be honest before entering it. Honest about who has influence. Honest about what still hurts. honest about what you're still carrying. God does not bless pretending. He blesses surrender. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guarding your heart includes guarding your environment. As February approaches, some connections will naturally fade. Some conversations will feel forced. Some invitations will no longer feel right. That is not a loss. That is alignment. Do not chase what God is removing. Your marriage will need your full presence, your full maturity, your full yes. If this message is speaking to you, type in the comments, "I'm protecting my future." Because when you speak it, you seal it. And remember this final truth. The right people will walk with you into marriage. The wrong ones will demand explanations. Wisdom. Choose the future you prayed for. And if you're ready for that future, subscribe, like, and share this message. Because the right word at the right time can change everything. Let me slow this down, because some of you feel this in your chest right now. That tight feeling is discernment. You already know who needs distance. You already know which conversations drain you. You already know which version of yourself you're afraid to let die. Marriage will not silence those signals. It will amplify them. If something feels off now, it will feel louder later. This is why preparation matters more than romance. Love can be strong and still need structure. Some of you are trying to bring everyone with you because you're afraid of being misunderstood. But clarity does not need consensus. If you're listening and you feel torn, comment this right now. I trust God's direction. Choosing obedience over comfort. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You just need to enforce them. Stop oversharing your relationship with people who don't pray for it. Stop explaining your partner to people who already decided not to understand. Stop inviting opinions where only wisdom belongs. Marriage thrives in safety, not exposure. There are conversations that belong in your home, not in group chats. There are struggles that need prayer, not public commentary. And hear me carefully. If someone benefits from you staying single, they may resist your breath. That resistance can sound like concern. It can sound like jokes. It can sound like, "I'm just being honest." But honesty without love is not truth. It's a projection. If this connects with you, type in the comments, "I'm choosing wisdom over noise." Because noise is the enemy of discernment. Marriage asks you to grow up. Emotionally. To listen without defending. To speak without attacking. To love without keeping escape plans. That's why the old you cannot come along. The old you flirted with attention. The old you ran from hard conversations. The old you stayed guarded instead of grounded. That version did its job. It protected you when you needed protection. But now it's time to build. And builders travel light. If you're afraid of losing people by changing, remember this. Anyone who leaves because you chose health was only attached to your dysfunction. The Bible says, "Can two walk together unless they are agreed?" Marriage requires agreement, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, not perfection, but alignment. Some of you need to stop asking, "What will I lose?" and start asking, "What will my marriage become if I don't let go?" That question changes everything. Moment of clarity, comment, "I'm releasing what no longer fits." Because release creates room. Room for peace, room for intimacy, room for God to lead. As your wedding approaches, don't rush the separation process. It is holy work. God often removes distractions before he releases blessings, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Marriage is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of stewardship. You are stewarding a union, a future family, a legacy. And legacies require discipline. So if someone cannot honor your growth, wish them well from a distance. If someone keeps pulling you back into old patterns, choose forward motion anyway. If part of you resists this message, that's okay. Growth often feels like grief, but peace will confirm what fear questions. Let this be your declaration. Type it boldly in the comments. My marriage is protected. Because words shape decisions, and decisions shape destiny. You are not too much. You are not changing for the worse. You are aligning with purpose. Walk into February grounded. Not rushed, not pressured. Grounded. And remember, what you leave behind determines how free you walk forward. If you're ready to step into marriage with clarity and peace, subscribe, like, and share this message. Because obedience now creates peace later. Let this land deeply, because this is where transformation becomes real. Some of you are still negotiating with God about who gets to stay. You're saying, God, I'll obey, but can I keep this one connection? And heaven is silent, not because God is unsure, but because you already know the answer. Marriage requires full surrender, not partial obedience. Delayed obedience always turns into unnecessary pain. Wedding, but should never have access to your marriage. They celebrate the event, but they don't respect the covenant. Pay attention to who celebrates commitment and who only enjoys the party. If this feels personal, comment right now. I'm choosing covenant over comfort. Because comfort keeps you small. Covenant stretches you strong. Some of you are afraid that if you let go, you'll be alone. But let me remind you of this truth. God never removes without replacing. He removes confusion to give clarity. He removes noise to give peace. He removes misalignment to give unity. The Bible says, "The Lord will fight for you." You need only to be still. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is trust. Trust that God sees what you can't. Trust that He knows who doesn't belong in your next chapter. Marriage will demand decisions you used to avoid. Hard conversations, clear boundaries, emotional responsibility. If you avoid these now, marriage will force them later, usually through arguments, resentment, or distance. Preparation is love. Some of you are listening with your partner in mind. Others are listening with a specific name coming to memory. Don't ignore that. Conviction is not condemnation, it is direction. If someone consistently pulls you into doubt, that is not wisdom. If someone thrives on your vulnerability but never points you toward growth, that is not support. If someone resists your boundaries, they benefited from your lack of them. If this resonates, comment, "I'm honoring my boundaries, Allah." Because boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They let the right people in and keep the wrong influences out. Marriage flourishes where respect lives. Respect for privacy, respect for process, respect for growth. Not everyone deserves front row seats to something God is building quietly. Some things grow best underground. Stop announcing every step. Stop seeking validation for decisions God already confirmed. Your peace is your confirmation. And listen closely. If you don't choose unity now, division will choose you later. Unity doesn't mean agreement on everything. It means commitment to resolve anything. That's why the voices around you matter. The people closest to you should push you toward understanding, not fuel separation. If you're ready to be intentional, comment, "I'm building wisely." Because wisdom is slow, but regret is expensive. You are not late. You are not behind. You are being refined. Marriage is not about perfection. It is about partnership, and partnership cannot survive constant interference. So bless those you must leave behind. Forgive what needs forgiving. Release what needs releasing. Not in bitterness, but in strength. Because strength knows when to let go. As February arrives, step into your marriage lighter, focused, aligned. Let peace be your witness. And remember this truth as you move forward. Who you protect your marriage from matters just as much as who you invite into it. If you're stepping into this new season with intention, comment boldly, "My future is sacred." Subscribe if this message is preparing you. Like it if it confirmed what you already felt. Share it if someone you love needs clarity. Because the season you're entering requires courage you're finally ready to use. Stay with me, because this part is where many people look away, not because it's unclear, but because it's uncomfortable. Marriage exposes entitlement. Entitlement to access, entitlement to opinions, entitlement to your time. Some people are used to having a vote in your life, and when you quietly remove that vote, they call it distance, they call it pride, they call it change. Let them talk. Growth always sounds like betrayal to those who benefited from the old you. If you're listening and realizing you've been over-explaining yourself, comment this right now. I release the need to explain. Because explanation is often a form of seeking permission. Marriage is not asking permission. It is making a decision. Some of you need to hear this clearly. Not everyone who loves you knows how to love your marriage. They may love you individually, but sabotage you relationally. They give advice based on fear. They speak from their wounds. They project their failures onto your future. That is not guidance. That is contamination. If someone only talks about divorce, distrust, and disappointment, do not let them shape your expectations. What you expect, you prepare for. What you prepare for, you unconsciously create. If this hits you, comment, I'm choosing faith over fear. Marriage grows in expectation of good, not anticipation of disaster. Now let's talk about silence. Some of you will have to stop responding, not because you're angry, but because engagement keeps the door open. Silence is not weakness. It is clarity without debate. You don't owe everyone closure. You owe your marriage consistency. And yes, some people will test your boundaries. They will push. They will guilt you. They will say, you've changed. You have. That's the point. The Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation always requires separation from old patterns. Marriage is not just about loving your partner. It's about unlearning habits that damage intimacy. Oversharing, avoidance, passive aggression, emotional outsourcing. If you're aware of these patterns in yourself, comment this with honesty, unlearning. Because healing begins with ownership. You cannot pray for peace and keep inviting chaos. You cannot ask God to bless your union while refusing to protect it. Protection doesn't mean suspicion. It means intention. Who do you call when there's conflict? Who do you vent to when you're emotional? Who influences your perspective when you're tired? Those answers matter more than you think. Marriage is built in small moments, small decisions, small boundaries. If you ignore the small leaks, they turn into floods. This season before marriage is not about proving love. It's about practicing wisdom. Wisdom says, I don't need everyone to understand. Wisdom says, I choose peace even when misunderstood. Wisdom says, I protect what God entrusted to me. If that's your mindset, comment boldly, I'm walking in wisdom. Because declaration reinforces direction. As you move closer to February, don't rush to silence the discomfort. Let it teach you. Discomfort often reveals what must change before blessing can be sustained. Marriage is not fragile, but it is sacred, and sacred things require honor. Honor in speech, honor in boundaries, honor in choices. So take inventory, not with judgment, but with honesty. Who lifts you closer to unity? Who feeds doubt instead of discernment? Who respects your growth without competition? Choose accordingly, because the future doesn't respond to intention alone. It responds to action. If you're committed to entering marriage prepared, comment this as your final declaration. I'm ready for a covenant. Subscribe if you're serious about growth. Like this video if it confirmed what your spirit already knew. Share it if someone needs permission to choose peace. Protect today. We'll protect you tomorrow. Take a breath here, because this is the quiet truth most people never say out loud. Marriage does not fail suddenly. It erodes slowly. It erodes through unchecked influence, through constant outside voices, through small compromises you convinced yourself didn't matter. This season right now is mercy. It is God slowing you down before acceleration. Some of you are being asked to grieve people who are still alive, people you love, people you laughed with, people who walked with you through hard seasons. Let yourself grieve, but don't let grief confuse obedience. You can love people and still limit access. If this feels heavy, comment this honestly. I'm choosing maturity, because maturity often feels lonely at first. There will be moments when you wonder if you're being too strict, too serious, too guarded. But peace will keep confirming your decision. Chaos never leaves quietly. It resists, it argues, it disguises itself as concern. Don't negotiate with what God already exposed. Marriage is a calling, and every calling comes with pruning. Jesus said, every branch that bears fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Pruning hurts, but it is proof of purpose. If you feel like things are being cut away, it's because something is being prepared to grow. This is not about fear. This is about stewardship. You are stewarding trust, time, intimacy, legacy. You cannot steward well while everyone has access. Some of you need to stop confusing loyalty with familiarity. Loyalty protects your future. Familiarity only honors the past. If you're ready to stop living from nostalgia, comment, "I'm future-focused." Because where you focus, you build. Marriage requires decisions that don't make sense to everyone. Requires silence where you used to explain. Distance where you used to engage. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you committed. Committed people think long-term. They ask, how will this affect us 5 years from now? How will this shape our children? How will this influence our peace? If you've never asked those questions before, now is the time. This is not pressure. This is preparation. And hear this carefully. The people meant to stay will adjust. The ones meant to leave will resist. Their reaction will confirm your decision. If you're seeing resistance already, comment this quietly but firmly. I trust the process. Because the process knows what it's doing. Marriage is not sustained by passion alone. It is sustained by wisdom, humility, and protection. Protection of conversations, protection of intimacy, protection of emotional space. Not everyone needs to know your disagreements. Not everyone needs to know your struggles. Some things are resolved best in private, with prayer, patience, and honesty. Oversharing invites interference. If this is a shift for you, comment, "I'm learning discretion," because discretion preserves dignity. As you step closer to this new chapter, let go without bitterness. Set boundaries without guilt. Choose peace without apology. You are not being dramatic. You are being deliberate. And deliberate people build marriages that last. Let this be your final reminder. The door to marriage is narrow on purpose. Not everyone fits. That's not rejection. That's design. So walk forward lighter, clearer, unapologetically aligned. And if you're ready to enter this season with wisdom and courage, comment this is your commitment. My marriage comes first. Subscribe if you're choosing growth. Video if it confirmed your discernment. Share it if someone you love is standing at the same threshold. Because the life you're stepping into requires a level of clarity you now finally have.